Welcome to Mindscapes, our series of conversations with men and women whose ideas, vision and philosophy define our contemporary world. My guest today is a unique woman. She's been described often as SAROD Rani. She is perhaps the first woman in the long tradition of Indian classical music to have performed in public, playing the sarod, and in fact, the first woman to have performed any Indian instrumental music. I'm delighted to welcome Sharan Rani. Welcome, Sharanji. You have had a long and very distinguished career as a musician. You were a student of Baba. You have performed with many illustrious musicians. You're still regarded as an active musician of eminence. Jawaharlal Nehru has described you as India's cultural ambassador. You've been honored with the Padma Bhushan, with Padma Shri, and numerous accolades. What prompted this young, well, not even teenage girl to go and pursue a passion for music in a community that was still clad in the burqa, even amongst sort of Hindu families of that age?
Yes.
What was that impulse that drove you to this?
First of all, I must thank you for inviting me here for this interview.
Well, you honor us.
And you are giving me a chance to talk about myself. It has been a very, very long time, almost 60 years, more than 60 years.
You've been performing on stage for 60
yes.
years.
And when I was just 8 years old, I started playing on sarod. And how it came to me, I don't know. It comes from my previous life, I feel. That since my very childhood, I had been so much wanting to be in music. Every note used to attract me. If there was a record being played in radio or gramophone, these were the two things in those days. I'm talking
the 1920s.
1930s,
Okay.
earlier than that.
Right, right.
But I was all the time thinking that I play something or dance or sing. All the time, I was not interested in playing with dolls or toys like other children.
You were exposed to these, to singing and to dancing and
Yes.
what have you. But
No.
what fascinates me is the aspect that you went in for instrumental music, which was sort of really unavailable to women at that time. You went in for something which is very masculine in form and playing.
Actually speaking, I was hardly 7 years old. I started learning Kathak. I was a dancer first. I was a very keen dancer. And it was so fortunate that Achan Maharaj, the famous Kathak dancer from Bindadin Gharana, he came to Delhi. And one day, Nirmala Joshi came. She was having some children who were interested in music. And she said, I'll take her and get her training by Achan Maharaj in dance. I was so happy, I can't tell you. But as the times were, nobody was happy that a girl goes out of the house. In those days, it was British Raj. There were no schools. And to learn dance and music was a taboo. People didn't mind their daughters or girls of the house to sing or dance in the house, but not to go out of the house. And she said, oh, I will look after her and just send her. And I went. I started dancing for other institutions also. I learnt Manipuri also. But before this, I started playing sarod also. What happened that daily it was like this, that everybody said, no, you are not going to dance. You are not going to have bells in your feet and dancing on the stage for other people and having makeup on your face and people watching you, that we will not allow you. The society was also like this. So they said, okay, if you are that much interested in music, then you learn singing or start playing something like sitar. Everybody knew about sitar, but nobody knew about sarod. So sitar would not draw me so much. What happened one day, there was an old instrument lying on an almirah in my house. So I picked up that instrument one day, cleaned it. I didn't know, I had not seen it. In those times, you must have seen paisa. Paisa was there. So I had so much musical sense that I tuned it. The strings were like that I tuned it properly. And I didn't know how it is played, with what. So I took one paisa and tried to strike it. And this sound which came out just made me feel that this belongs to me and I belong to this instrument.
And then how did you end up with this great maestro as your teacher?
Yes, because I was very, very young, hardly 9 or 10, I was performing somewhere. Because I started performing in the music competitions of students, school children, or all India competitions, and I used to get always first prize. So at that time, they hurt me. And from there, I was so lucky that from very beginning, Ustad Baba Alauddin Khan Sahab and Ustad Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, they encouraged me. And they said, you must learn. I was so happy. And I could not believe that one day I learned from them. And it went on and on and on. They would come to Delhi. There were no festivals at that time. No festivals used to take in Delhi. So I used to only practice. Like mara mara kehte kehte Ram Ram nikalne lagta hai. So very soon I started learning from them. And I was studying still. And it happened that I was taken on All India Radio. I became an All India Radio artist. And then I saw the freedom movement, and I took part in that also.
In what ways were you involved with the freedom movement?
I was, because I was attending daily Gandhiji's prayer meetings. Daily, it was an atmosphere at that time. I don't think anybody remained in the house when he used to be in the prayer meetings. And we used to run to hear him. And there were people who were inspiring. At that time, there was such an atmosphere that I was inspired by so many leaders.
Where were you and what were your feelings when you heard of Gandhiji's assassination?
I was at home, and by chance I picked up telephone to ring up somebody. And there was cross connection, and somebody was telling, look, Gandhiji has been killed. Gandhiji ko goli maar di kisi ne. And I was trembling, and I just closed down the phone and came running to everybody to give this news. They said, no, you must have heard wrongly. So it was right, and we were all, it was like a death in everybody's family. And we all were there at the cremation. And I've never seen so many people. It was ocean of people on the roads.
You know, technology has changed a great deal,
Yes.
and that has had an effect on music in many ways.
Yes.
That musicians have to perform differently because now there are microphones, there's a more sophisticated reproduction system.
Yes.
When you make records, that tends to define
Yes.
how long your piece of music needs to be. There are many factors.
Yes.
So how did this process of change affect you, and what were some of the major challenges that you had?
No, actually, I think that challenges are more today, because in those times, the pure music form, And the people, the audiences who used to come also understood music. They knew, especially Calcutta people. Most of them had learned Dhrupad and Khyal or Ragas or Raganis. So they really appreciated the real thing. Nowadays the difference is they want variety. They want short pieces. They don't understand much what you are doing. They go on publicity. This is the thing. There was no publicity in those days. People knew by name or their work. Whenever there was a singer, no organizer could give them time. That look, you have to sing for 1 hour or 1.5 hours or 2 hours or 40 minutes like this. It was the audience who was to decide. If they are liking, they can't stop.
So what were some of your sort of memorable performances or eventful performances?
Well, in such a long span of life,
there must have been many.
There had been many, but I would...
Well, tell me one memorable in a positive way and one not so memorable in a negative way.
There was one performance in 50s. I remember that was I was chosen as the best instrumentalist, and there used to be a competition, all India competition, of all the instruments combined, not only SAROD. It was a combined instrument competition, and I stood first. And I was given Tansen Award, and it was Rajendra Babu, our first president. He came to Calcutta to give me this. And whoever used to come first, he used to get chance to perform in the major All India Music Conference of Calcutta. It was a very, very big festival. The greatest musicians used to take part. And I was the youngest at that time, and when I performed on tabla, Shanta Prasad was accompanying me, and all the great musicians like Ghulam Ali Khan, Omkar Nath Thakur, Amir Khan Sahab, many were sitting there in the hall. And I played for more than 2.5 hours. And when I finished, I saw Omkar Nath Thakur coming on the stage, and he just held my hand, and like this he took it. He said, "She is not Sharan Rani, she is SAROD Rani."
Why did you resist the lure of cinema? It was a time when sort of any attractive woman who'd been on stage was a prime candidate for the movies, and you had lots of people chasing you to appear in front of camera. Why did you say no?
Because I was so much in love with SAROD that I felt that ek saade sab sab jaye. So I thought that I have no time to give to any other line. I went to Bombay, I went to the studios. There also many people asked me, but I said no. You love somebody and you marry someone else. This I can't do. So
I know it's difficult to express this, but SAROD has been so much a part of your life. You feel that it's something that's a carryover from your previous life. Can you try and define and describe what happens to you when you're actually playing the instrument, what it does to you?
You know, every time I touch a note, I feel I have a relationship with it. And I have found after so many years with my experience that this is the only thing which never changes. सात जो स्वर हैं, सा रे गा मा पा धा नी सा, वो कभी नहीं बदलते. दुनिया आए चली जाए, लेकिन और सब कुछ बदल जाता है. हर इंसान बदल जाता है. You feel that everything changes very fast. But these notes, they never change. अपने ही स्थान पर है. Sa is sthai. Rekha is where it was. Gandhar, Komal Gandhar, Shuddh Gandhar, Madhyam, Tiv Madhyam, Pancham, Komal Deva, Shuddha Deva. Like this, all these notes never change their place. They are never tired. They are always fresh, and they give you life. They give you such a pleasure that I sometimes feel they are the only friends of mine. When I am very unhappy or I am disturbed, music which makes me forget. जैसे ये स्वर जो हैं गमों को एक निद्रा में सुला देते हैं. तो I feel that music is so great. The word great is small for to use for music and these notes.
So if you're a good-hearted person, if you're a
Yes.
good human being,
Yes.
is it necessary to be that to be a good musician?
I think
I mean, if it comes from the heart
to
and
some
it's-
extent it is, but one has to be one with it, one with your music. This is like this, I say that prem galiyati sakri jame dona samay. That when you are playing some rag or you are touching the notes of that rag, your whole body, your senses, your thinking, you don't have to make effort that I am going to do this. It should come effortless.
You know, people have often looked at a relationship between music and divinity, and music is a route to divinity,
Yes.
and you have sort of talked about this merging with sound. And have you felt this relationship? Do you
Yes.
believe in a God? How does
Yes,
it express
yes.
itself?
Swar is Ishwar. You know, from Om, Uchchar, you get the feeling that the God is close to you. And music always makes you feel this. And it gives you so much happiness that no other thing gives you happiness. That is God, closer to you. And I have a feeling that once you had asked me about some of my performances, which I remember. Once I was performing in Goa, and I was not aware. I was so much lost. And later on, some big journalist told me, he was sitting there, what happened to you, Sharan Rani? You were not playing for a second. Your hand stopped and your expression was different. I said, was it like this? I wasn't conscious. But I was conscious of one thing, that I lost myself to some other place, and I was with God. And I was not conscious that I stopped playing. The whole audience was sitting. And after he told me, I said, I was thinking what was gone, what was there that this thing happened to me. So I didn't tell him anything, and I said, well, God took me for a second.
How do you judge a performance when it's over? In terms of your relationship to the music, the way the audience has responded, what is it how do you conclude that this was a good performance, it wasn't a good day?
First thing is that when I am satisfied, then people will be satisfied, the audience, I feel that way. And both the things make a lot of difference. If I am satisfied and the audience, naturally they get satisfied.
What kind of relationship do you feel with this physical object that is sort of your medium for transcendence in some ways?
Yes, because you know, the position is just like a child, your own child, sits on your lap and you cuddles the child all the time. All the time, naturally the mother's hand goes on his face or here or body. So is the same case with the SAROD. Since childhood it's sitting in my lap. And I tell people, if I had a son, he would have grown and helped me so much. But it is, my son is still a child, still sits in my lap and very jealous. If I give my more time to other things, he gets annoyed, angry with me. Because if you don't practice regularly for hours together, he leaves you. So it is, since, the beginning, you have to sit cross-legged, put the sarod here on your lap and press it on your tummy. It, even for half an inch, if it goes this side or that side, you become Besura. You are out of tune. So it's
and yet, in your sort of career, in your lifetime, you have collected many such children, as you described them. Not all of them have been as intimate as a son that you have been cradling.
Yes.
What prompted you into this this process of collecting musical instruments that you were then to, in a sense, donate to the nation as a national resource? Why was this process so special for you?
Actually, I have been going on repeatedly saying that I have been mad after music. Anything connected with music. And also I am an educated person. And my subject, I have been very keen on history, of art also. And anything I would do, my mind would go deep in so many questions. Why it is like this? Why it sounds like this? Why the finger is like that? It goes like this, small queries. And in very childhood, I saw so many instruments. But gradually, I found that many instruments are,
fading away.
Yes. There's nobody to perform in that. I felt very unhappy. And I started feeling very sad that, oh God, don't bring a day like that these are forgotten and nobody plays on it. So I was a very, very busy musician. Almost every week my suitcase was packed and I was traveling. It was all the time I was traveling. Later on I realized that I can't repeatedly go for instruments hunt. So it is better when I go for performance, I stay one day longer and look after some music. These instruments.
So you began collecting instruments, and you had something like 200 or 300 diverse instruments with you?
You see, from beggar to a Raja, from the greatest musicians, there are instruments which have been played by great masters in my collection. And I collected a variety of instruments, like sarods, variety of sarods. I wanted to show to the future generations how sarod developed, how sarangis from different provinces, the different sarangis, sitars. There were sitars in the beginning when there were no frets, no sympathetic strings in it. Frets were always there. So there were very little, 3 strings, setar it used to be called. So like this, I have shown so many varieties of sitar, sarod, israj, dilruba, veenas, sarangis, flutes. There are varieties of drums, tablas, pakhavas, and different types of drums, and gongs, and cymbals, and the big gongs, and ghantis, and
you obviously have this sort of enormous sense of continuity.
Yes.
You talk about music being carried over from your previous life into this life.
Yes.
You think about musical instruments that will survive the future, will reveal history. What is your own sort of projection for yourself? You still have many decades of performing ahead of you. But if you were to think of your next life, you would still want to be a musician again and playing sarod or something else?
I would like to play sarod, always.
For another lifetime at least?
Yes.
Do you feel fearful of death in some way, or do you just see that as another transition so that you can be young again and do another 100 years of playing music?
Yes, I would like to do that. I feel that if I am again born, I have got more I mean, more knowledge than I was a child. But now I think if I start again, I'll do it much better way, and I'll do many other things which I could not do. Life is so short. You know, these things require so much time. I don't know, I left the whole world. I have stopped meeting people. I don't go anywhere because I don't get time. I'm teaching my students, I'm performing myself, I'm practicing myself, I'm reading, I'm doing some research. I don't know, and then I'm looking after my household. And I've got only one daughter, and she now is grown up and she helps me. Otherwise, I had been doing alone with my husband's encouragement. He has been always at my back and never complained that you go out for 2 months and leaving me alone, or this is not cooked, that. He is also comes from a family where he was pampered, never did anything. He doesn't know how to peel an orange. So everything his mother used to do, even peeling a grape. So I used to tell my mother-in-law, I'm not going to do this. I have no time to peel the grapes. It takes so much time. So it was my husband who has been, he's also very knowledgeable.
And so
always he guides me.
Now he pampers you?
He has pampered
It's
me
his
a lot.
turn?
Yes. But I feel that we had love marriage, all right, but we were so much away from each other for the sake of work, and he never complained. He always says, once I felt that I'm doing too much, I mean, neglecting him, so I said, let me leave all this. Tell him, why? Why do you want to do this? You want to become an ordinary person like anybody? You want to sit down and chat all the things, or this thing about something about some woman, something about something. No, 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 you are not born to do that. You don't feel this.
Even as we wait these several decades for the next life,
Yes.
what is it that you want to do, achieve, complete in this life that you haven't done yet?
I like to have more healthy life, to perform and to please God. And I would like that he is sitting right in front of me, and I'm asking him to give me the so much surila. He makes my hands surile and so much lay and feeling that I forget the whole world.
Sharan Rani, thank you very much.
Thank
This
you
has been
so
a great
much.
privilege.